Connor with Movie Death Blows. Kinga, it's amazing to meet you.
You also, Connor. Thank you.
Yeah, really, I want to start this out with. I mean, you were the first female Shark Week host, since the beginning. What was that like?
It was amazing. It made me cry. And obviously, there have been amazing scientists and female celebrities on the shows for years, but to be the first woman to get to host her own show was truly special.
I mean, I can't believe what that would feel like. I mean, I'm not even close to that, and I felt this way that I got the opportunity to do these interviews.
Oh, that is so special. Thank you so much. Well, it was really extraordinary. I felt very honored.
Yeah, I've been watching Shark Week with my mom since I was maybe 4 years old. So,
Really love that.
oh yeah. So then, yeah, one of the big ones is I know both your parents were scientists, a botanist and a geologist. Do you
Yeah.
credit one or the other for influencing you a little bit more?
Oh, I mean, both of them, truly. Like, my parents were very different from each other, but my dad was always the one who would get us outside. And my dad was always the envelope pusher. Like, he was the one that in his youth, he would cross through Europe in the middle of winter, pulling sleds with dogs and like cauldrons for food. So he was an envelope pusher. But my mom is a pretty special. She's 85 years old and she still climbs trees. So it's in our genetics.
Yeah, that sounds like my grandma. My grandma passed away at 96 years old, but she was still waking up 3 times a week and doing like water sports at the YMCA. So,
Love that. May we all.
amen. um, so through all of your, journeys, you've probably faced many risks. Is there one that kind of like stands out to you as the most dangerous?
Oh my goodness. With sharks, without sharks.
Either one.
There are always really interesting shark encounters on these shows because we are putting ourselves in precarious situations. And there are situations that we willingly choose to put ourselves in, and we always acknowledge that. But there have been some pretty hairy shark encounters on some of these shows. There's going to be a pretty good one in Attack of the Devil Shark, and it's
I've
about
watched
as
it.
real as it gets. Yeah. So did you watch it?
I did watch that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so when that shark comes at me and it essentially kind of tosses me out of the water, everyone in the boat just went pale because they didn't know what had happened. And you never know how a situation like that is going to end. So that was definitely a good one. In real life, I think driving on the freeways in Los Angeles is probably more scary than some of those other encounters.
I'm sure. Yeah. I'm happy you brought up Attack of the Devil Shark though, because I have two like big questions surrounding that one. Is one, what's the bigger like difference for how much more safety you're handling while you're doing the nighttime dive?
Ooh, night dives are always a little sketchy. And we definitely have a lot of safety divers in the water, but we're all watching each other's backs. We're watching the safety divers' backs, because at that point, you're already at a disadvantage in the ocean as a human. And when it's dark out, and this is when the predators feed, and you can't see, you're at a massive disadvantage. So, you're not just dealing with the sharks, but you're dealing with making sure no one gets lost, that there aren't strong currents in the water. You're dealing with the weather. There are just so many different things. So, night dives are always exhilarating, but you're a little bit like, yeah, they're fun.
And I'm sure it's even more amped up with around an active volcano with how that affects sharks' behavior.
100%. 100%. That was all very interesting to see how their behavior changed, especially with our sphere.
Yeah, and this is something I asked Kendall as well. But with the title of your special this year, Attack of the Devil Shark, how do you think that affects the public's perception of sharks?
Excellent question. That show in particular is based on the lore of the area. So, not only does it incorporate two actual attacks as the jumping off point for it, which were very tragic, and they were, the shark that was implicated was the same shark, and that's what made it so interesting. But we're also looking at the lore of this area. And Sabo was also known as King Kong Island because that's where King Kong was filmed, or that's where
I
the
didn't know that.
background for King Kong. Yeah. So with that one in particular, And I'll be honest, like when I heard the voiceover at the beginning and I saw the title, I kind of went, ooh. But when I watched it, I thought, okay, this actually makes sense because they're playing into the lore of everything. So it's meant to be very dramatic. And Shark Week walks that line so well, where it's a lot of entertainment, but then there's also a lot of science. We're doing actual discovery, we're taking biopsies, we're tagging these sharks, we're studying these populations. So it's a little bit of everything all together.
Which completely makes sense. The only other follow up I had about that special too is just in that exact episode, there is sometimes that sharks were referred to as monsters in that. Kind of the same question, public perception on that.
And I think these are great questions, and you should be asking them. I think, again, in that show, because they were really leaning into the lore of it. So, this Jobway shark was kind of being put on a pedestal the way that you would the Yeti or the Loch Ness Monster. So I think traditionally, and because I have a background in anthropology and I've done a lot of these shows like Legend Quest and looking for these sorts of things, it plays into the idea that humans have historically like created these beasts out of something, yet there's always an element of truth. So the play into that was really, is this shark a monster, or is this like is there something environmental going on here that it's attracting extra large sharks, so their behavior is very different?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense the way you put that. Um, so moving past your new special, which was awesome, I did really enjoy it.
Good.
Um,
That makes
the
me happy.
title did throw me off a little, just because
Of course.
but you put that very well, and I understand marketing. So
And that's part of it. It's fun. I think people expect Shark Week to be entertaining and fun, and it's big and it's bold.
yeah, absolutely. But with all these years diving with sharks and your experience behind it, what's one shark behavior that still catches you by surprise?
I think the fact that sharks have unique personalities and that you can get in the water with three tiger sharks and one of them will be really shy and kind of stay away from you, and one will be big and bold and come right into you, and then you'll have something in between. And people really don't realize when they don't get the opportunity to get in the water with them that they're like dogs. You can have three dogs and one will be jumping in your lap and the other one will be running around the yard and one will be hiding under the bed. And that's a really neat thing to get to see their personalities come out as you spend more time with them.
That's a great way to put that, because I have three dogs at home. One is super shy, one is docile, and one, is bouncing off the walls every chance it gets.
That's exactly it. And sharks are the same way.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It looks like we have 1 minute to wrap, so I really appreciate your time here today, Kinga. This was amazing opportunity.
Good. Well, it makes me so happy. And I love that you watch Shark Week with your mom.
Yeah, no, every year.
Good.